Clive Davis is on with us right now. Good morning, my man. How are you?
Well, good morning to you.
Why come out with the book now? Just because you've had such an interesting life and you've been doing this for so long, you wanted to memorialize these stories?
Well, you just said it. I mean, I've been getting so many requests, for years and years, and my life was blessed that I found music as a passion that I never knew was going to be a part of me, and whether it was finding Joplin at Monterey, going through Springsteen and Aerosmith and Earth, Wind and Fire, artists that got me in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or when I founded Arista and found the songs to help perpetuate careers for Whitney or Aretha and Dion and Barry Manilow. I wanted to share that. And there's so many people out there that love music. I wanted to show how vital music has been and how it is today. And I wanted this, to be out there.
Clive Davis talks about a lot of this stuff in his book, but you were raised middle class, and when you were a teenager, both your mother and your father died pretty close together.
I would say much lower middle class. We were just above the poverty level, so that, we didn't have... When my parents died when I was a teenager, my total inheritance was $4,000. That's what I had to get through college, law school, and the rest of my life.
And you go to college, you go to, I think it was Harvard Law School. You end up practicing law, and I guess because I haven't read this book, what I find interesting, or what I want to know from Clive Davis, is how did you go from being a lawyer to running Columbia Records and then starting your own label? What got you involved in the record business itself?
I got a lucky break. I got an offer at 3 years out of law school to go become the counsel for Columbia Records, and that I would be the full-time chief counsel within a year. I took that job, never thinking the music would become my life's work and passion. And so I became general counsel for Columbia Records for 5 years. And I tell the stories in this book of how luck played a part and how I got the offer to become head of Columbia Records overnight 5 years later. And that's how I got into music. And, hard work, commitment, and finding that music really took over my life. Never expected it. And how it could influence the rest of one's life.
That's amazing, because you're just a lawyer. You're working there, and then before, in a few years, you're actually running the label. But did you have any musical ability or skills yourself, or did you have any musical background?
I was a record collector. I love music. I was a listener, but I had no clue. I didn't have a clue until I was at the Monterey Pop Festival. As head of Columbia Records, I had watched and done nothing but watch and observe for a year, and I found myself in the middle of a cultural, social, and musical revolution. And it took over my body. It might sound like a cliche. It was an epiphany. I see this white soul sister vibrating, electrifying, compelling. I saw Janis Joplin changed the rest of my life. I decided I'd have to sign her. We ended up buying her contract. She had never, with our group, Big Brother and the Holding Company, had a record out. And then with the success of that, and then just feeling my way, and within a matter of 2 years, signing Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Chicago and Santana, leading to Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, all of a sudden, I felt I had a natural gift. Where it came from, I have no idea.
Now, when you sign these people, Clive, and Aerosmith he mentioned, and this long list, were you the final guy? They would come to you, or how would this work? Would you discover them yourselves, or would people say, hey, take a listen to this, and you would say yay or nay?
I mean, very briefly, when it came to Chicago, I was tipped on Chicago by David Geffen. When it came to Santana, I was invited by the great rock promoter Bill Graham to fly to Fillmore West and to see this new group fusing Latin and African and rock and blues and jazz. Each one, was based on a tip either from an A&R man when I went to the Village Gate to see the new Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the one that Al Cooper and Steve Katz founded. So that, yes, obviously there was someone recommending it that I knew, and I went there and I looked and I made that decision.
Is there anyone that someone said, hey, take a look at this group, you saw them, and you go, no, I don't see it, and then they were signed by someone else and went on to become super successful?
Yes, I write of that in my book, and of course the biggest one was John Mellencamp. He was known as John Cougar at the time, and Tony DeFries, David Bowie's manager, had asked me to audition this artist, and I watched, listened, saw him, and I felt when I auditioned him, he was much too close to Bruce Springsteen, who, with John Hammond, I personally had signed. And so I passed. An interesting byproduct is that just a few years ago, the night before the rock and roll induction of Jan Wenner of Rolling Stone, I sat at a table. There were 5 of us. It was me. On my left was Bruce Springsteen. On his left was John Mellencamp, and then Jackson Browne and Don Henley. And they were sort of trading, quote, Clive stories. And I looked at John and I said, John, in interviews, when asked about the biggest artist I passed on, I got to say, and it's so ironic because we're sitting with Bruce, that I passed on you because I felt you were so close to Bruce Springsteen when I saw you. And he said, looked me right in the eye and said, Clive, I want to rest your mind. He said, 8 weeks before I auditioned for you, I was in a cover band. We were doing only hits of other artists. And Tony DeFries, David Bowie's manager, said to me, look, you got to go out on your own. You got to start writing songs, and I'm going to take on your career. And so 7 weeks after I was trying to sign songs, obviously my hero at the time was Bruce Springsteen. So there's no, anomaly. There's no, unexpected. I was close to Bruce then. I didn't become myself till a while later. So that was a good dinner, and that was wonderful to share it, with Henley and Jackson Browne, and of course Bruce Springsteen there to hear it at the same time.
Clive Davis is on with us, legendary record executive. The book is The Soundtrack of My Life. And this book not only talks about his career, long and storied career, but it gets pretty personal. You in this book, it talks about your bisexuality and how you were with women for many, many years, and then you started a relationship with men. Did anyone else, before this book was put out, did people in the industry know? Did people around you know? Or did you keep it completely secret?
No, I mean, I have 4 children. I've got 6 grandchildren. I certainly spoke with my family. They knew it. If I turned or opened myself up to bisexuality, the relationship partner came with family trips. My close friends certainly knew it. But it's a private relationship, and I waited really for the story of my life because bisexuality, something that only occurred, frankly, after I was 50, that I incorporated, and I found that I'm attracted to the person and not the gender, is badly misunderstood. And you're either gay or you're straight, or you're lying. Well, it isn't so, and I hope the few pages that I deal with this issue can be a positive influence. Society hopefully is moving in the direction that no one should care. Take the person in front of you, evaluate that person, and don't be influenced by what any sexual preference might be.
Clive Davis, I know you have to run, and we should get you back sometime when you're not as busy. I know his book has just come out recently, so he's very busy, but I could talk to this guy all morning long. He probably wouldn't want to talk to me, but very interesting. Get the book. It's called The Soundtrack of My Life. I appreciate you coming on, Clive.
Well, I'm really appreciative of your support, and I look forward to spending more time. Thank you.
Thank you. Clive Davis.